Hey guys, tonight we're slipping back in time. Not just a few years, but all the way back to the 16th century Ottoman Empire. Specifically to the heart of it all, Istanbul. You're standing on a dock in the year 1554. The air is thick with the smell of salt from the Bosphorus, cumin from the spice market, and the metallic tang of 1,000 workshops. And somewhere, just faintly, a new scent is curling through the alleys, something roasted, nutty, and utterly foreign. We're here to follow that scent, to trace the strange, obsessive, and sometimes lethal love affair that the Ottomans had with a specific part of a new drink, the foam, the kopuk. It's a story of social revolution, palace intrigue, and a level of caffeinated devotion that makes our modern don't talk to me before my latte vibe look like amateur hour. You think you're tired now? You probably won't survive the 5-hour political debates fueled by this stuff, let alone the palace executioner. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, I'd love to see where you're listening from and what time it is. Are you just starting your day in Manila or winding down in Montreal? Let me know. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pull your thin cloak tighter. It's 1554, and Istanbul, or Constantiniye, as you hear it called all around you, is the center of the known world. This is the city of Suleiman the Magnificent, a ruler at the absolute peak of his power. The empire stretches from the gates of Vienna to the shores of the Persian Gulf. It is impossibly wealthy, meticulously organized, and to your modern senses, overwhelmingly pungent. You've just crossed the Golden Horn on a bobbing ferry, dodging porters carrying towering stacks of leather hides, and merchants shouting in a dozen languages: Greek, Armenian, Ladino, Persian, Arabic. You are in the district of Topkapı, the commercial guts of the city, crammed between the Grand Bazaar and the Spice Bazaar. It's a labyrinth of workshops, storehouses, and gloomy khans or merchant inns. And it is here, on a street you can barely stretch your arms wide in, that you see it. It's not a shop, it's not a tavern. It's something new. A sign, simply painted, reads Kahve Khane. You pause. You've heard of this. A new drink, dark as pitch, hot as sin, that's just arrived from Syria. They say 2 men, one Hakam from Aleppo and one Shams from Damascus, have opened this place, this coffee house. It's a curiosity, but it's also suspect. What goes on in there? Before this moment, your options for socializing as a man in Istanbul were starkly limited. You could go to the mosque, a place of serene communal worship, but not exactly the spot for idle gossip or vigorous political debate. You could go to the meyhane, the tavern. These were dim, often rowdy places hidden away, technically illegal under Islamic law, but largely tolerated. There, you would drink wine or raki, the potent anise liquor, and your conversation would be loud, slurred, and frequently punctuated by brawls. It was a place for oblivion, not illumination. Or you could stay home. This Kahve Khane, this is something else. You push open the heavy wooden door. The sound of the street, the hammering, the shouting, the braying of donkeys is instantly muffled. The room is long and relatively narrow, the walls lined with built-in wooden benches, or sedir, covered in simple, hard-wearing rugs. The air is warm and filled with a thick, aromatic smoke that you now recognize. It's that roasted smell. It's not incense, and it's not a cooking fire. It's the smell of coffee. In the corner, a man, the kahveci, the coffee maker, presides over a bed of hot coals. He is rhythmically stirring small, long-handled copper pots, his face glistening with sweat. The room is packed. But not with drunks. It's filled with men sitting cross-legged or leaning against bolsters, talking. And their talk is sober. You see a high-ranking janissary, his distinctive felt hat, the birk, resting beside him, deep in conversation with a merchant who looks like he just stepped off a ship from Venice. You see a cluster of young students from a madrasa, a religious school, listening intently as a grizzled old poet recites his latest work. You see shipyard workers, government clerks, imams, and even, you think, a spy for the Grand Vizier trying to look inconspicuous in the corner. This is the mainstream historical fact that will be repeated in textbooks. In 1554, the first public coffeehouses opened in Istanbul, and in doing so, they shattered the social structure of the empire. You find a spot on a bench, squeezing in between a spice merchant complaining about taxes and a quiet man reading a beautifully illuminated manuscript. You are, frankly, a little bit intimidated. This isn't just a cafe, it's a social equalizer. In here, a porter's opinion can be heard just as clearly as a judge's. Rank and status are checked at the door, replaced by a new hierarchy based on wit, knowledge, and the ability to tell a good story. A boy approaches. You hand him a small coin, an aksha, and simply point at what everyone else is drinking. He nods and scurries back to the kavaji. While you wait, you look closer at the process. The kavaji isn't just boiling water. He's performing a ritual. He has a massive cylindrical mortar and a heavy pestle, and with a rhythmic thump, 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 he's pulverizing beans that have been roasted to a dark, oily brown. The resulting powder is finer than anything you've ever seen, like dark flour. He spoons this powder into the small copper pots, these are the first jezve, adds water, and maybe a scoop of sugar for some, then nests the pot directly into the searing hot coals. He watches it like a hawk. The moment it begins to rise, he pulls it off, lets it settle, and puts it back. He does this 2, maybe 3 times. The boy brings you a tiny, handleless cup, what we would one day call a finjan. The liquid inside is almost black, steaming, and covered not with the thick velvety foam we're here to investigate, that art is still in its infancy, but with a thin, bubbly, slightly gritty layer of scum. You take a sip. It's awful. It's unimaginably bitter, like chewing on burnt tree bark. It's hot, and the bottom of the cup is already filling with a thick, muddy sludge. You watch the men around you. They are sipping it slowly, thoughtfully, wincing slightly, but then letting the warmth and the effect roll over them. You take another sip. The bitterness is still there, but underneath it is something else, a richness, a hint of chocolate, of earth. And as you sit there, the exhaustion from your walk, the mental fog of this overwhelming city begins to lift. Your mind doesn't just wake up, it sharpens. The conversations around you, which were just a dull roar, suddenly resolve into distinct threads. A group to your left is debating the war in Persia. They're critical of the Sultan's strategy, something they would never dare to say in the street. A group to your right is arguing over a line of Hafez's poetry. The man with the manuscript is, you realize, a calligrapher, and he's quietly taking commissions. This place is a newsroom, a university lecture hall, a stock exchange, and a poetry slam all in one. It is, as the signs will soon read, a mekteb-i-irfan, a school of the wise. And you realize the danger. This is a public space, fueled by a psychoactive, non-alcoholic drug that men can gather and talk about anything. Politics, religion, philosophy, sedition. This is where the revolution is brewing. But where did this powerful, sludgy drink even come from? You listen as the men tell the stories. They talk of its origins in the distant, mysterious mountains of Yemen, in the port of Mocha. And this is where we find our quirky tidbit. The drink, they say, was a secret of the Sufi mystics. This wasn't a recreational beverage for them. It was a tool for devotion. The Sufis, particularly the Shadili order, held ceremonies late into the night, ceremonies of jikr, the remembrance of God. These were grueling, ecstatic rituals involving chanting, breathing, and repetitive movements designed to bring the worshiper into a state of divine union. But they were long. They lasted until dawn. And human bodies get tired. The legend they tell is of a Yemeni Sufi sheikh, Ali ibn Umar al-Shadili, traveling in Ethiopia. He saw goats dancing energetically after eating bright red berries from a strange bush. Or maybe it was his disciple,
Omar, an exiled physician priest living in a cave, who boiled the berries out of desperation and found the resulting concoction kept him awake and alert for his prayers. The stories are tangled, but the result is the same. The Sufis discovered that by roasting and brewing these beans, they could create a drink that would banish sleep and allow them to perform their holy rites for hours on end. For the Sufis, coffee was, and still is, a holy sacrament. So, how did it escape this secluded world of monastic devotion and end up in this smoky commercial room in Istanbul? This is where we find our scholarly debate. Historians still argue whether the slow, nearly 100-year creep of coffee from Yemen, where it was established by the late 1400s, to Istanbul in 1554 was due to the Sufis actively hoarding their secret, or if it was simply a matter of complex 16th century trade. The Ottomans had conquered.
You're done with the kavakane in Tahtakali. You've seen the raw, boisterous power of coffee as a social grenade. You've tasted the sludgy, bitter fuel that's rewiring the city's brain. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for the art. You're here for the foam. That little skim of bubbles you saw Hakim give to the old poet was a clue, a hint at a deeper, quieter, more obsessive world. Hakim is a businessman. He's running a startup, and it's booming. He's selling the effect of coffee. You need to find someone who is selling the soul of it. You spend a week asking around, using the few Turkish words you've picked up. You're looking for the best kahveci in the city. Not the most popular, not the most crowded, but the best. The name that keeps coming up, whispered with a kind of reverence, is Ibrahim. Usta Ibrahim. His shop is not in the commercial chaos of the port. It's tucked away in a quiet, narrow street in the shadow of the magnificent Uslamaniya Mosque. This is a neighborhood of scholars, students, and old families. It's old money and old traditions. You find the shop. It's small, immaculate, and quiet. There is no thundering medda, no shadow puppet plays. The sign is a simple, elegant piece of calligraphy. You push open the door. The sound that hits you is not the roar of debate, but a respectful murmur. And underneath it, not the thump, thump, thump of a heavy pestle, but the whisper of coals and the gentle, rhythmic shh, shh of a hand mill. The room is clean. The cedar benches are covered in rich, deep red kilim rugs. The light is soft, filtering through a high lattice window. In the corner, on a raised platform, a man who must be Ibrahim presides over his ochak, his hearth. He is in his 50s, slender with a trimmed white beard and the intense, unblinking gaze of a master craftsman. He moves with a slow, deliberate economy. There is no wasted motion. You don't sit down. You don't order. You walk straight to him, bow your head, and wait. The silence is the first thing you notice. The thump, thump, thump of the pestle, the sound that had become the city's new heartbeat, is gone. It's been 3 days since the Çavuş kicked over Usta Ibrahim's Mongol. The decree is posted on every mosque wall. Coffee is haram. The kahvehanes are closed. You walk past Ibrahim's shop. The beautiful calligraphied sign is gone. The windows are shuttered. A wax seal from the Qadi is plastered on the door. It's a tomb. The school of the wise is dead. The entire neighborhood feels empty, sober, and a little bit cranky. You see men wandering the streets, listless. They gather in small, nervous knots in the courtyards of mosques, but it's not the same. The talk is subdued, fearful. There's no jezve to pass the time, no fragrant steam to fuel the debate. It's just men standing around. It's awkward. They look like they've forgotten how to socialize without a finjan in their hands. The ban, of course, is a spectacular failure, and it fails instantly. You cannot introduce a substance this popular, this powerful, this addictive, and then just take it away. You might as well try to ban the Bosporus. The Sultan and his advisors have fundamentally misunderstood what they are dealing with. They thought they were closing a few rowdy clubs. What they were actually doing was creating a black market. And you, with your master's knowledge, are now perfectly positioned to navigate it. But you're also a target. You're no longer an apprentice. You're an unemployed, illegal craftsman. By the second week, the city has adapted. The revolution hasn't been crushed, it's just gone underground. Literally. You're in a damp, vaulted basement near the docks, a space normally used for storing olive oil. The smell of old amphorae and sea salt mingles with a familiar, forbidden aroma. It's a Korsan Kahve, a pirate coffee shop. It's dark. It's filthy. The only light comes from a few greasy oil lamps. The room is packed, shoulder to shoulder, with men. But the clientele is different. There are no poets here, no scholars reading manuscripts. This is the rough crowd. Disgruntled janissaries, their weapons clattering on the stone floor, dock workers, unemployed clerks like yourself, and a lot of spies. The paranoia is the thickest thing in the room, thicker than the smoke. You watch the Kavichi. He's no Ibrahim. He's a big, sweaty man with one eye, brewing on a makeshift mangal made from a broken shield. He's not roasting his own beans. He's using pre-ground stale toes that he buys from a smuggler. He's not using jezves. He's boiling the coffee in a big dented tin pot. He slops the resulting liquid into crude earthenware cups. You're handed a cup. You sip it. It's appalling. It's boiled, burnt, and full of grip. It tastes like burnt disappointment with a hint of, "Please don't arrest me." And you look at the surface. Of course, there is no foam. It is yüzsüz, faceless. You realize the connection. In Ibrahim's shop, the foam was a symbol of respect, of kif, of slowing down. Here, in the underground, there is no respect. There is no time. The goal is not to savor, but to get the kawa into your system as fast as possible and get out before the çavuş breaks down the door. The lack of foam is the new reality. It is the symbol of a culture under siege. The art is the first casualty of the war. You huddle on a rickety stool, cradling your cup of hot mud. You listen, and what you hear chills you. In Ibrahim's shop, the talk was of poetry and philosophy. In Hakam's shop, it was news and business. Here, it is pure, unadulterated sedition. The Sultan is a fool, a janissary mutters, not even bothering to lower his voice much. He listens to his viziers, and they are all vipers.
He raises our taxes and spends it on another wing for the harem. He hasn't led the army in the field in a decade." Another man, a merchant who looks like he's lost everything, nods grimly. "And this ban, it's not about God. It's about control. They are afraid of us. They are afraid of this." He gestures around the room. "The free talk of free men." You shrank a little. This is not witty criticism. This is treason. The kind of talk that gets you introduced to the palace executioner, a man known politely as the Bostanjibashi, the chief gardener. A man slides onto the stool next to you. He looks friendly. He's a simple fellow, maybe a tanner, judging from the smell. He nods at your cup. Terrible, isn't it? But what else can we do? A man needs to think. You nod, warily. "Ibrahim's apprentice, weren't you?" he asks, his voice soft. Your blood runs cold. How does he know that? You've never seen this man before. I swept the floors," you stammer. "Of course," he says, smiling. "We all just sweep the floors." He leans in. "But a man with your skill, a man who knows the real craft, he must find this new world distasteful." He's flattering you. He's probing. You look at his hands. They're not the hands of a tanner. They're soft and clean. He is a hafiye, a spy. He's here to find the real malcontents, the ones who aren't just blowing steam, but the ones who remember what was lost, the ones like you, the ones who represent the art of it, the soul of the revolution. You drain your cup, grounds and all. You stand up, your heart hammering. You say, "I have to go. My mother is ill." The man's smile doesn't change. "Of course. Give her my regards." You push your way through the crowd and practically run up the stone steps into the mercifully dark alley. You don't look back. You have just come face to face with the other side of the coffee war. It's not just about grumpy preachers. It's about a sophisticated, sinister network of state surveillance. The Kahvekhane, by its very nature, was the perfect trap, and you almost walked right into it. This ban, like the ones before it, eventually collapses under its own weight, not because of a popular uprising, but because of money. This is the central mainstream historical fact of this era. The Ottoman state was, to put it mildly, an expensive operation, and they quickly realized that they were spending a fortune trying to stop something that they could be taxing. The Grand Vizier, a man who could calculate the profit on a shipload of pepper to the last akçe, does the math. He points out to the Sultan that the sin of coffee suddenly looks a lot more like the virtue of a 15% import duty. Historians still argue to this day whether the initial ban was ever truly about religious piety or if it was a purely political move to crush the new public sphere. The speed with which the state reversed itself and imposed a tax suggests the political and economic motives were far stronger than the religious ones. The ulama who had been preaching that coffee was charcoal from hell were quietly told to find a new topic for their sermons. And just like that, the Kahvekhanes are back. It's a false dawn. It feels like victory, but it's a trap. The coffee houses reopen, and they are more popular than ever. Ibrahim even reopens his shop, though he seems older, more tired. He rehangs his sign, but the joy is gone. The state has won. They have monetized the revolution. The Kahvekhane is no longer a school of the wise. It is now a licensed and taxed place of assembly. The spies don't even have to be subtle anymore. They have their own designated tables. And the quality? It never fully recovers. The heavy taxes mean the kahvechis have to cut corners. They start mixing the expensive mocha beans with cheaper, inferior beans from, well, anywhere they can get them. They start using pre-ground powder to save time. The art of the jezve, the slow, patient craft of Ibrahim, is wounded. The foam is thinner, bubbly, and broken. This cycle repeats itself for decades. The state tolerates the coffee houses when it needs the tax money and the economy is stable. But the moment there is a crisis, a military defeat, a janissary revolt, a plague, the kahvekhane is the first thing to be blamed. It's the empire's scapegoat. The coffee houses are closed, the kahvechis are warned, the taxes are lost, and then, slowly, they are allowed to reopen. It's a frustrating, exhausting, caffeinated dance. You live through this. You're an old man now. Decades have passed since you ran from the ghost of Murad IV. The city of Istanbul is still the center of the world, but it feels flatter. The karahanes, the reading houses, are everywhere. They are full of men smoking the long-tubed nargile, hookah, the air thick with the sweet, cloying smell of apple tobacco. The smoke has drowned out the sharp, energetic aroma of the roast. The endless, gentle gurgle of the water pipes has replaced the defiant thump, thump, thump of the coffee pestle. You still drink coffee. Everyone does. But the art is gone. The stuff they serve in the public houses is, to put it politely, dishwater. It's a fast, bitter, boiled jolt of caffeine. It's usus, faceless, every single time. The foam, the kif, the slow, civilized ritual that Ibrahim taught you. It's a story you tell your neighbor's children, and they don't believe you. It's an artifact of a lost world. You are the last practitioner of a dead art, living in a small, quiet room, your beautiful jezve hidden away, more a relic than a tool. One morning, there is a knock on your door. You're not afraid, not anymore. The days of the Bostanji patrols are long gone. This is a new, more bureaucratic, more decadent age. You open the door. You're not prepared for who you see. It's not a neighbor. It's a Kızlar Ağası, a high-ranking black eunuch from the Topkapı Palace. You know this instantly from his magnificent robes, the tall cylindrical kavuk on his head, and the air of absolute, terrifying authority that surrounds him. He is the chief black eunuch, the man who guards the harem, and one of the most powerful and feared officials in the entire empire. He is flanked by two baltacular, halberd-wielding guards from the palace. They don't knock. Palace guards arrive. You are Ibrahim's apprentice, the Ağa states. It's not a question. You can only nod. Your throat is dry. You were a kahveci of the old style. You know the face of the coffee. You nod again. Her Excellency, the Kahya Kadın, the Grand Mistress of the harem, requires your service. You will come now. You don't pack. You don't ask questions. You put on your shoes and you follow. You are escorted through the streets of Istanbul, no one daring even to look at your entourage. You are brought to the Topkapı Palace. You, a simple old man, are walking through the first court, the court of the Janissaries. You pass under the Bab-us-Salam, the gate of salutation, where viziers are made and unmade, and into the second court, the heart of the imperial administration. But you don't stop there. You are led past the kitchens, past the Divan Tower, to the Bab-us-Saade, the Gate of Felicity. This is the entrance to the third court,
the enderun, the private inner world of the Sultan himself, and next to it, the entrance to the imperial harem. You are not, of course, taken into the harem. That is impossible. You are a man. You are taken to a small, richly appointed office that abuts the harem wall. This is the nerve center, the airlock between the world of men and the world of women. This is the office of the Kahya Kadun. A woman is seated behind a low desk. She is, you guess, in her 60s. She is not beautiful in the way the odalisks might be, but she is the most imposing person you have ever seen, second only to the Aa who brought you here. She is the chief stewardess, the absolute ruler of the harem's vast domestic and financial empire. She controls thousands of people, manages a budget larger than most European kingdoms, and answers only to the Valide Sultan, the Sultan's mother. She has a stare that could curdle milk, let alone foam. "So," she says, her voice like dry silk, "you are the one who remembers." "I am a humble servant, Excellency," I murmur. "Humble servants are useless to me," she snaps. "I need a master. The coffee in this palace, in this city, is a disgrace. It is mud. It is boiled shoe leather. It is usus, faceless." She says the word faceless as if it's a profound curse. "The Valida Sultan is displeased. And when the Valida Sultan is displeased, the entire harem trembles. I do not like to tremble." This is the mainstream historical fact of this new era. The Kave-Khanehs had been crushed, but the harem had become the new center of coffee culture. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the harem evolved into a complex, rigid, and incredibly powerful female-led institution run by the Valida Sultan, the Queen Mother, and her Kahya. And in this world, where open speech was forbidden and every action was symbolic, the serving of coffee became a high-stakes, high-luxury ceremony. "You," the Kahya continues, "will teach my Kavehji Kadun." She claps her hands. A young woman, no more than 20, glides into the room. She is beautiful, yes, but her face is a mask of terrified, perfect composure. This is the Kavehji Kadun, the coffee mistress, or Gozde, a favorite who has been given this high status and lethally dangerous position. She bows so low her forehead nearly touches the floor. "Zeynep," the Kahya says, "is a clumsy child. She boils it. She serves mud. The Valide Sultan nearly threw the cup at her this morning. An insult. To her and to me. You will teach her the old way. You will teach her the foam. If she succeeds, you will be rewarded. If she fails, she doesn't need to finish. If you fail to teach her, you will be retired. Permanently. You will have a long, very quiet swim in the Bosporus." You finally understand. This is not Ibrahim's shop. This is not a matter of losing a customer. This is life and death. You have just mastered the high-stakes ceremony, and the stake is you. "I will need my tools, Excellency," you say, your voice surprisingly steady. "You will have palace tools," she replies. She leads you to a small private kitchen, a kave ocak, a coffee hearth, reserved just for the Valida Sultan's personal service. It is gleaming. This is a level of luxury you could not have imagined. You look at the tools, you almost laugh, but you catch yourself. The mangal. It's not copper. It's solid, heavy silver, chased with a pattern of tulips. The jezve, not copper, which you understand, which you have mastered. It is tombak, copper gilded with pure gold. It is beautiful. It is also, you realize, with a jolt of panic, going to heat completely differently. The gold and heavy metal will hold the heat, not just conduct it. It will be slower to warm and, crucially, slower to cool. You'll have to pull it off the fire seconds before it rises, anticipating the residual heat. You have to relearn your entire craft right now. The finjans, not simple earthenware or even decent porcelain. This is Kütahya porcelain, painted with delicate blue flowers, so fine you can almost see the light through it. The zarths, the holders, not brass. They are gold filigree, set with small perfect turquoises and rubies. The ingredients. This is the real shock. The water, the kahya says, pointing to a marble fountain in the corner. It is from the Cheshme of Khurrem Sultan, the purest spring water, never the city pipes. The sugar, she points to a porcelain box, not coarse rock candy, fine white sugar from Egypt. And the beans, she opens a lacquered wooden chest. The smell hits you, and you almost weep. It's that smell, the smell you haven't smelled since Ibrahim's storeroom. But it's deeper, it's brighter. It's the smell of roasted mocha beans with notes of fruit and wine you don't even recognize. The Sultan's private reserve.
Your new life is one of quiet, gilded comfort. You are the Kavejibashi of the harem, a protected, respected, and, in your own small world, powerful man. You are an usta. You have an apartment within the palace grounds. You are paid handsomely. And your only duty is to ensure that the Valide Sultan's coffee is never, ever Yussus. You have taught Zeynep, and she has become a master in her own right. You have taught her successor, and her successor's successor. You are a fixture, an institution, but you are also a curiosity. Time, in the palace, moves like honey. Years, decades, slide by in a fragrant, caffeinated haze of ceremony and ritual. The world outside the gate of felicity, that is a different matter. You, as a high-level servant, are allowed out. You can walk the streets of Istanbul, and you watch the city, your city, begin to change in ways that are more profound and permanent than any of Murad's bloody patrols. You are, let's say, a very, very old man now. You have a touch of the magical about you. You have seen it all, and you are not done. You are the immortal witness to the foam. You walk through the Grand Bazaar in the mid-19th century. The empire is struggling. Everyone knows it. It's the sick man of Europe. The sultans are no longer warriors like Suleiman or terrors like Murad. They are reformers. They are modernizers. They are building palaces of white marble on the Bosphorus, designed by Armenian and Italian architects to look like European opera houses. They are wearing frock coats instead of kaftans. The Janissaries, those terrifying coffeehouse rebels, are gone, massacred and disbanded decades ago. The old world is being paved over. And the Kirahatkhanes, they are still there, but they are changing. You sit in one, near the newly built Galata Bridge. You order a coffee out of habit. A boy brings it. It's the same fast-boiled mud. You sip it, and you wince. But you are looking at the table next to you. A group of merchants, dressed in the new Western style, are talking, and they are not drinking coffee. They are drinking something else, a reddish gold liquid, served in a delicate, tulip-shaped glass. They are holding the glass by the rim, their pinky fingers extended. With each sip, they take a lump of sugar into their mouth, letting the hot liquid dissolve it. And the sound is not the thump-thump of the pestle. It's the high, sharp tink-tink-tink of a tiny spoon stirring sugar in a glass. It is chai. It is tea. And it is the single greatest threat your beloved Kaveh has ever faced. Not a sultan, not a preacher. A different leaf.
You live on. You are the eternal usta, the man who remembers. You walk the streets of this new Istanbul. The fez is gone, by law. The Arabic script is gone, replaced by the sharp, clean, unfamiliar letters of the Latin alphabet. The Republic is young, it is proud, and it is in a hurry. It wants to be modern, it wants to be Western, it wants to be anything but the slow, decadent Ottoman past you represent. You are a living relic of that past. Your Coffeehouses in the palace is a museum exhibit, the golden jezves labeled and locked behind glass. Your skills are, for the first time in your very long life, completely and totally useless. You survive the great convulsive changes. You survive another world war, a war the Republic navigates with a careful, nervous neutrality. And then the war ends, and the victors arrive, not as conquerors, but as allies, the Americans. With them comes the Marshall Plan, an unprecedented wave of aid, tractors, cigarettes, and culture. And in their cultural luggage, in their soldiers' rations, they bring the invasion you were warned about. It comes in a small glass jar with a simple, sensible, modern label. Nescafe. You see it first in the window of a new bakkal, a grocery shop in Beyoğlu, the European quarter of the city. It's not sold by the bean or by the 100-gram bag. It's sold in a jar. You see a poster, a smiling modern woman, her hair in a fashionable Western bob, is holding a steaming cup. Not a finjan, a big ceramic mug. She is not sipping, she is drinking. The promise is not keef, it is not craft, it is not legacy. The promise is speed. You are in your neighbor's apartment. You've lived in this small concrete block apartment for a decade now. She is a young woman, a clerk at one of the new banks. She is proud of her modern kitchen, with its electric light, its humming buzdolabı refrigerator, and its formica countertop. "Have a coffee, Effendi," she says, calling you sir. You nod. You are curious. You are always curious. You watch her. She does not go to a mangal. She does not pull out a jezve. She boils water in a metal kettle on her new gas stove. She takes the jar of Nescafe. She unscrews the lid. The smell that hits you is not coffee. It's not the smell of the roast. It's not the smell of mocha. It's a dry, sharp, slightly sour, vaguely chemical smell. It's the smell of dust. She takes a chai kashigi, a teaspoon, and spoons a small amount of the brown crumbly powder into a large mug. She pours the hot water over it, and you watch, horrified, as the coffee simply appears. It dissolves. There is no bloom, there is no rise, there is no use, no face. There is no telve, no grounds. The sludge is gone, the foam is gone. The entire process that Ibrahim taught you, the art you perfected in the harem, the craft you risked your life for under Murad, it has been solved. It has been eliminated. She stirs it with the spoon. Tink, 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 the same sound as the tea glass. "Milk?" she asks. You stare. "Milk? And sugar?" She doesn't wait for your answer. She adds a glug of cold milk and 2 hefty spoonfuls of sugar. She stirs it again. She hands you a pale, beige, lukewarm beverage. You sip it. It's nothing. It's a thin, sweet, vaguely sour, watery thing. It has no body. It has no soul. It is the ghost of coffee. It is a flavor, not an experience. "Modern, isn't it?" she says, beaming with pride.
So fast, no more washing that terrible mud from the cups. You finally understand. This is the true enemy. This is the barbarian that has not just stormed the gates, but has been invited into the home and is being celebrated as a liberator. This isn't a ban which you can defy. This isn't a rival like tea which you can respect. This is an erasure. You watch as the city falls. It falls fast. The Kave-Khane, which had already been weakened, battered, and turned into a chai-hane, now has a new, even faster, cheaper rival. Why bother with the slow samovar when you can just have a kettle? The jar of instant coffee takes its place on every shelf. But the real conquest is the home. The jezve, your beautiful, elegant tool of craft, it is now the symbol of work. It is the symbol of the past. Why, your neighbor asks, would you spend 10 minutes laboring over a hot stove, watching a pot, risking it boiling over, just for one small cup, when you can have a mug of coffee in 10 seconds? It's an unanswerable question. The logic of it is crushing. The jezve is put away. It's relegated to the back of the cupboard, behind the new modern glassware. It is now what your grandmother used. It is alla turca, old-fashioned, Turkish style. And in the new republic, alla turca is an insult. Everyone wants to be alla franga, European style. This is the great, mainstream historical fact of the mid-20th century in Turkey, the sweeping cultural shift towards modernity, driven by a desire to be part of the new post-war Western world. This wasn't just about politics, it was about everything: music, dress, architecture, and, yes, what you drank. Instant coffee was not just a drink, it was an ideology. It was a statement that you were a modern, rational, efficient person. You walk the streets. The chai-hanes still exist, the men still clicking their backgammon tiles. Tea is too entrenched, too social to be completely replaced by an instant jar. But the craft of coffee, it is gone from the public sphere. You search. You are the eternal usta, the man who remembers. You go to the shop of Karu Kavecim Mehmet Efendi, the roaster you found, the one that gave you hope. His shop is still there. It is in fact thriving. You are confused. How? You watch. People are lining up. They are buying his pre-ground, powdered coffee, the same toz you bought. You ask the man next to you in line, why? Why do you buy this when there is the jar? The man, a respectable bey effendi in a crisp suit, looks at you as if you're simple. The jar, he scoffs. That is burro coffee. That is for the office, for the hurry. This, he gestures to the roaster, this is for the home. This is for Sunday. This is for Bayram, the holiday, when my in-law visits. And you realize the craft hasn't died. It has retreated. It has retreated from the public Kave-Khane. It has retreated from the palace. And now it has retreated from the daily. It has become a fossil. It has become tradition. It is no longer a revolution or an art or a political act. It is a quaint, forgotten corner of life. It's a ritual you perform, not for keef, not for the craft, but for nostalgia. You do it because your grandmother did it. This is the new prison for your foam. It's not a ban. It's not a tax. It's a special occasion. It's been put in a glass box to be looked at, admired for its old-world charm, and then ignored. You see a young woman, a university student in the line. She's buying a small bag. You know how to make this.
You ask, gently. Of course, she says, a little defensively. My babanane taught me. Do you make the foam? You ask, your voice almost a whisper. The kopeck? Yes, you have to. Otherwise it's, usuz. She laughs. My grandmother says it's an insult to the guest. You smile, a real, deep smile. But, she adds, rolling her eyes, it's so much work, all that watching. And my roommate, she just got a new máquina, a machine. This is where our quirky tidbit comes in. The 1960s and 70s, the age of appliances. A Turkish company, in a brilliant and, to you, horrifying stroke of genius, invents the...
You are adrift in the new century. The 1990s are roaring, and Istanbul is a chaotic, sprawling, concrete megalopolis. It is obsessed with the new, the fast, the alafranga. Your world, the world of the Jezve, is a quaint, dusty memory. You have seen your craft, your art, your life reduced to a grandmother's nostalgic ritual, a special occasion drink. You've seen it replaced by the convenience of tea and the lifeless instant dust in a glass jar. You are the last usta, a man with an obsolete skill, a high priest of a dead religion. You are just waiting. You are not sure what for. And then, the new invasion begins. It's not a slow creep like the tea. It's not a bland industrial substitute like the Nescafe. It's a full-scale, high-gloss, expensive cultural wave. You start to hear a new sound in the fashionable streets, in the new gleaming shopping centers. It's not the thump of the pestle. It's not the tink of the tea glass. It is a loud, rhythmic, and incredibly aggressive sound. It's a whoosh, clack, a hiss, screech, a thump, but a new, sharp, metallic thump. You follow the sound, your old bones protesting. You find its source. It's a shop, but it's not a karahatane. It's a cafe. It has a foreign name. Starbucks? Gloria Jeans? The signs are in English. The prices are in a new currency, lira with 6 fewer zeros. You step inside. The air is warm. And the smell. It's coffee. But it's not your coffee. It's not the deep, dark chocolate and cardamom smell of the mocha bean roasted by Ibrahim. This is a sharper, brighter, more acidic smell. It's the smell of beans from Guatemala, a sign says, Kenya, Colombia. The world has suddenly gotten very, very large. The room is full of young, beautiful people, university students, young bankers, artists. They are talking, laughing, but mostly they are working. They are sitting at small, stylish tables, alone, staring into glowing, clamshell-like devices. They're dizüstü, laptops. This is the new school of the wise, you realize. But everyone is in their own private world, connected to something invisible. It's a room full of people, all determined to be alone together. And then you see the ocak, the hearth. You almost stumble. It is not a Mongol. It is a machine. It is a monster, a gleaming chrome and brass beast that looks like the engine of a steamship. It's the size of a small carriage. It has dials for pressure, gauges for temperature, nozzles and switches. It is, you learn, an espresso macchinesi, an Italian invention, and it is thrumming with a low, powerful, intimidating energy. Behind this altar is a new kind of cafeji. He's not an usta. He's a barista. He's young, he has fashionably messy hair, and he's wearing an apron. And he is busy. He is moving with a speed and, you have to admit, a precision that reminds you of yourself in the harem. You stand in the corner and watch. You are the eternal apprentice. His craft is not your craft. Your craft was gentle. It was seduction. You persuaded the coffee to rise. You coaxed the foam into being. His craft is violence. You watch him. He takes a heavy metal handle, a portafilter. He fills it with coffee from a large electric mill that grinds the beans with a high-pitched whir. The grind, you note with a sniff, is coarse, not the fine toes of Ibrahim, coarse like sand. He tamps the coffee down with a small metal pestle, a tamper. He presses his body weight into it, packing the grounds into a hard, dense puck. He twists the handle, rocking it into the great machine. Whoosh, clack! He presses a button. The machine shrieks, a high-pressure hiss. It is forcing boiling water through the dense puck of coffee at 9 times the normal atmospheric pressure. 9 bars. This is not brewing, this is detonation. And in 25 seconds, it's done. A tiny, dark, viscous liquid pours into a thick porcelain cup, and it is covered. You lean in. It is covered in foam. But what is this foam? It's not your korpuk. It's not the pale, tan, pillowy face you built from the bottom up. This is a rich, reddish-brown, tight, bubbled layer. They call it crema. It's a helmet. It was forced into existence from the top down by pure mechanical violence. It is the result of pressure emulsifying the oils in the bean. It is the foam of industry, the foam of the machine. You are fascinated and a little appalled. You look at the menu. It is a language you do not understand. Espresso, macchiato, americano, and the king of them all, cappuccino, latte. The barista takes another pitcher. He fills it with milk, cold, white milk. He plunges a metal wand into it, the steam wand. He turns a knob. A sound like a dragon's scream fills the room. Hiss! Screech! He is forcing high-pressure steam into the milk, heating it and foaming it. In seconds, he has a pitcher full of thick, velvety, hot milk foam. He pours the espresso shot into a cup that looks more like a soup bowl, and then he pours the hot, foamy milk over it. You have to know. You order one. A cappuccino. It costs. You do the math. It costs 10 times as much as a cup of tea. 10 times. Hakam and Shams would have been proud. You are handed the massive, heavy bowl. You sip it. It's lovely. It's not coffee. It's a hot, coffee-flavored milk beverage. But it's creamy, it's sweet, it's comforting. It's utterly, completely delicious. And it is not your cave. You sit down, your mind reeling. You have found the new. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the 1990s and 2000s in Istanbul. The globalized bean arrives. The third wave of coffee, a movement obsessed with bean origin, roast profile, and brewing method, sweeps the city. It's not Nescafe. Nescafe, you realize, was just the bland, industrial scout. This is the main army. This is the new high-end artisanal coffee culture. And it's a direct, mortal challenge to your jezve. Why? Because these new baristas are craftsmen, just like you. They talk about their beans the way Ibrahim talked about his mocha. This Guatemalan says has notes of citrus and dark chocolate. They talk about their roast. We don't burn it like the old, Turkish style. We do a medium roast to preserve the terroir. That word, terroir, the taste of the place. You feel a flash of anger. The mocha bean has terroir, you want to shout. It tastes of the Yemeni desert. But to them, your craft is primitive. You go and talk to one of them. A young woman, her arms covered in dövme, tattoos. She says, "Turkish coffee?" she says when you ask her. She's polite, but a little pitying. "Yeah, we have it. It's on the menu." She points. It's at the bottom, under other drinks. "We don't make it. We have a machine." She points to a sleek chrome box. You put the jezve in it, it senses the rise, and it turns off. The automated, perfected, soulless electric jezve. She says it's nice, very traditional, but it's not really coffee, is it? I mean, you boil it. It over-extracts. You kill all the delicate flavors. All you taste is the roast. You are speechless. Boil? You grab her by the arm. She jumps. You never boil. You hiss, your eyes blazing with the fire of 1580. Boiling is murder. Boiling is for laundry. You persuade it. You watch for the bloom. You build the sleeping tiger. You pull it from the cat paw just as it rises. You never, ever let it boil. She's staring at you. She thinks you are insane, a crazy old man. You let go of her arm, embarrassed. You are an usta, but your words are meaningless. Your language is dead. Her language is extraction yields. Her language is microfoam. Her language is pressure. This is the new school of the wise, and they have their own new and deeply complex, rigid rules. This brings us to our quirky and fascinating tidbit, the latte art. You are sitting defeated with your milky cappuccino.
The battle is over. You've seen it all. You've seen your beloved cave rise as a revolutionary force, be perfected into an art, be banned as a crime, be treasured as a palace secret, be dismissed as old-fashioned, be poisoned by instant dust, and finally be brutally supplanted by the chrome, high-pressure espresso machine. The barista has won. The jezve has lost. You, the immortal usta, are a general with no army, a master with no apprentices. Your art is a ghost, haunting a city that has fallen in love with new, foreign, milky gods. You are walking through Sultanahmet Square. It's the 21st century now, a bright, hot, chaotic day. The air is filled with the calls of seagulls and the rumble of tourist buses. The Hagia Sophia, once a mosque, then a museum, is now, well, it changes. The Blue Mosque still stands, a monument to an age of impossible grace. This is the heart of the old city, but it doesn't belong to you anymore. It doesn't belong to the Istanbulu. It belongs to them, the tourists. They are here in their tens of thousands, a shuffling, multilingual river of shorts, backpacks, and maps. And they are all, it seems, looking for an authentic Turkish experience. You follow a group of them. They are loud, excited, and a little sunburned. They are being led by a guide into what was once, perhaps, a medrese or a small khan. Now it's a traditional Ottoman courtyard. You slip in behind them, a silent ancient shadow. The place is a pastiche. It's a theme park of your memories. The benches are covered in bright, machine-made Ottoman fabrics. A bored-looking man in a fez, which is now a costume, is pretending to smoke a nargile. It's not even lit. The air is full of the smell of cinnamon and rosewater from the piles of lokum, Turkish delight, for sale. And in the corner, there is a kahve ocağı, a coffee hearth. You look. It's a woman, dressed in traditional baggy pants and a velvet vest, her head wrapped in a scarf, dripping with fake gold coins. She is sitting on a low stool in front of a shiny, fake copper mangal. She is making coffee. You watch her. She is using the electrically jezve, the one with the plug. She's hiding the cord behind a velvet cloth. She's not watching the foam. She's texting on her phone. The machine sputters. She picks it up, dumps the contents, sludge, foam, everything, into a small, cheap porcelain cup. She doesn't spoon the use. She doesn't pour it slowly. She just dumps it. It is, of course, yusus, faceless, boiled. She hands it to the tourist, who paid, you note, a truly criminal amount of money for it. The tourist takes a sip. He winces. "Wow, that's strong," he says to his wife. He is drinking the telve, the grounds. No one told him to wait. You want to weep. You want to storm over there and seize the jezve and show her. Show her the fire. Show her the rise. Show her Ibrahim. But what's the point? They don't want the art. They want the costume. They want the souvenir. You look around the shop attached to the courtyard, and you see it, the final resting place of your craft, the jezve itself. There are hundreds of them, hanging on the wall, bright, shiny, cheap copper, made in a factory. They are stamped with Istanbul and a picture of the Blue Mosque. They are not tools. They are keychains. They are refrigerator magnets. They are souvenirs. Next to them are the finjans, little gaudy cups painted with sloppy golden tulips, sold in a set of 6 in a velvet-lined box. This is the afterlife of your art. It has been reduced to kitsch. It's something you buy, take home, and put on a shelf and never, ever use. It is a decoration. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the globalized 21st century Istanbul. The tourismification of culture. The jezve and its rituals, having lost their place in the daily life of the city, have been repackaged and sold as an authentic experience for foreigners who wouldn't know a kopuk from a crema. The craft is dead. Long live the brand. You're about to leave the courtyard, your heart heavy with a profound final sadness, when you see the real show. A different woman is sitting at a small table. She's not in costume. She's a middle-aged, modern-looking woman. She looks shrewd. In front of her is a line of young female tourists. One of them is handing her a finjan, an upside-down finjan. The woman is a falji, a fortune-teller. You stop. You watch. You remember the harem. You remember the girls in the courtyard whispering about snakes and birds and the sludge. You remember your own shock that they were more interested in the waste than the foam. Well, you were wrong, and they were right. The foam is gone. The sludge is booming. The falji takes the cup. She opens it. She peers inside with a dramatic, practiced eye. "Ah, I see a journey. You will fly over the water. Yes, very soon." The tourist gasps, "Oh my God, my flight home is on Tuesday." "Yes, and what is this?" The falji frowns. "I see a man. He's tall. He's thinking of you. But there is a shadow around him, a darker woman. You must be careful." "Mark? She's totally talking about Mark and that girl from his office." You stand there mesmerized. This is brilliant. It's a performance. It's theater. It's psychology. The falji is not just reading grounds. She is reading the woman, her hopes, her fears, her anxieties. She has taken the harem's secret language of fate and turned it into a business. This is the quirky tidbit, and now utterly central, of your craft's legacy. The fal, the telve, the fortune-telling. This is the authentic Turkish coffee experience now. The coffee itself is irrelevant. It's just the medium for the message. The boiled, faceless, electric jezve mud that the girl drank, it doesn't matter. It could be Nescafe for all they care. It's just the ticket to the show. You finally fully understand. The love affair with the foam, that was your story. That was the usta's story. It was a story of craft, control, honor, and art. It was a male story, a story of production. The love affair with the grounds, this is the new story. This is the falji's story. It's a story of fate, mystery, emotion, and hope. It's a female story, a story of consumption.
and it is wildly more popular. You watch the barista in the new cafe with his violent crema and his latte art. He is selling performance and skill. You watch the falji in the tourist trap. She is selling magic and insight. You, the old usta, with your quiet kaif and your perfect, honorable kopuk, you were selling civilization. And civilization, it seems, is just not in high demand. Historians still argue whether the rise of fal as the primary expression of Turkish coffee is a degradation of the art, or if this is the craft's salvation. Is this the one unique thing that the jezve can offer that the espresso machine cannot? The barista can give you latte art, but he cannot give you sludge. He cannot give you grounds. He cannot tell your future. Has this superstition become the only thing keeping the jezve relevant? Is the fal the jezve's last and most powerful line of defense against the globalized bean? You are not sure. You are just sad. Your art, the art of Ibrahim, is a gimmick. It's a trick to sell souvenirs and to get foreigners to pay an outrageous price to have a stranger tell them they're going on a trip. The revolution is over. The art is dead. The harem has won, but its victory is a hollow, commercial one. This, you think, must be the end. The love affair is a cheap romance novel sold in an airport. You leave the courtyard. You walk past the hanging, shiny, useless jezves. You walk out into the sunlight. You need a real drink. You go to a chai-hana, a real, old, smoky chai-hana full of old men playing okay. You sit down. "A chai, please," you say to the boy. You sip the hot, clean, honest tea, and you listen to the click of the game tiles. It's over. You have finally given up. You are no longer an usta. You are just an old man, drinking tea, waiting for the end. But the story, your story, is not quite as simple as that.
The taste of honest black tea, chai, is clean and simple. You sit in the chaihane, the click of the okay tiles, a soothing, familiar rhythm, a comforting Turkish sound that has outlasted the Janissaries, the sultans, and the jezves. You're resigned. The love affair is over, reduced to a joke, a souvenir, a gimmick for the tourist to trace their fate in the mud. The great art of Ibrahim, the high-stakes ceremony of the harem, the perfect, honorable kopuk, it's all gone. You are just waiting for your long-overdue retirement. But the story is not quite done with you. You smell it before you see it. It's not the cloying rosewater of the tourist traps. It's not the sharp, sour dust of Nescafe. It's not the aggressive, violent steam of the espresso machine either. This is a complex, rich, nuanced aroma. It's the smell of a perfect roast. The smell of a bean that has been nurtured, watched, and respected. It's a deep, dark chocolate base, but with a hint of something bright, citrus maybe, or a wine-like finish. It is the ghost of your past walking in the present. You stand up, knocking your stool over. The old men at the okay table glare at you. You ignore them. You follow the scent out of the quiet chaihane and into the modern chaos of the city. The scent leads you not to the historic heart of Sultanahmet, but to Karakoy, the new, fashionable, industrial chic district near the water. It's all repurposed warehouses, graphic design studios, and impossible amounts of street art. The buildings are rough, but the clientele is impossibly polished. And you find the source. It's a small, stark shop with a black facade and floor-to-ceiling glass. The name, in crisp, minimalist lettering, is simply the Usta. You pause. The arrogance of it is startling. The master. You push open the door. The interior is everything the old kavekane was not. There are no rugs, no soft sedir, no flickering oil lamps. It's minimalist, almost surgical. Concrete floors, exposed copper pipes, and a long white counter. The lighting is bright, focused. The music is quiet, intellectual jazz. But the centerpiece, the ojak, It makes your heart leap. It's a long, gleaming stainless steel counter. On it sits a custom-built shallow pan, about 5 feet long, filled not with coals, but with fine white sand. The sand is heated from underneath by precise, controlled electric elements. It glows with an even, deep, terrifyingly perfect orange red. This is not a sleeping tiger. This is a scientific, digitally controlled, hibernating dragon. Behind the counter stands the new usta. She is a young woman, maybe 30. She has tattoos running down her arms and her hair is pulled back tight. She is wearing a clean white apron. She's focused, intense, and she moves with that quiet, economic precision you remember from Ibrahim. She is the opposite of the bored tourist trap vendor. She is a scientist of the bean. This is the great mainstream historical fact of the late 2010s, the Turkish coffee renaissance. Driven by young entrepreneurs who participated in the global third wave, espresso culture, they learned the language of single origin and terroir, and realized their own ancient method was the world's original single-cup immersion brew. They resolved to reclaim it from the tyranny of the electric plug and the instant dust. You watch her work. She is not using the pre-ground dust of Mehmet Efendi. She has a small, beautiful, copper-plated grinder. You watch her load it with a strange bean. You recognize the dense, hard quality of a high-altitude bean, but it's not mocha. It's Ethiopian harar. She weighs the green beans on a tiny digital scale. 1 cup? You whisper. 9 grams. She taps the scale. 9.1, sir, she murmurs, not looking up. We aim for optimal extraction. She grinds. The sound is a controlled, high-pitched whir, but it produces a powder so fine, so delicate, it's finer than the toz you made with Ibrahim's brass havan. It's like flour, but somehow lighter. She takes a jazve, not copper, but heavy, thick, brass, designed to hold and manage the sand's intense heat. She measures the water, again on the scale, not by the fincan, but by the gram. 63 grams of purified, double-filtered water at room temperature. She explains this to another customer without even being asked, as if reciting a scripture. She adds the coffee and the water. No sugar. She uses a small, thin metal rod to stir it exactly 3 times. Then, the fire, the sand. She pushes the jezve into the scorching hot sand. The heat is immediate, powerful, and even. She doesn't wait for the water to boil. She doesn't even wait for the full rise. She's watching the temperature. She dips a thin digital thermometer, the laser kind, right next to the brass pot. The key, she says, looking up at you, her eyes shining with the zeal of a new convert, is to never exceed 93 degrees Celsius. 97 is boiling. 93 is perfection. You are appalled, and you are captivated. She has taken the spiritual, intuitive art of the sleeping tiger and turned it into a rigid, reproducible science. She has replaced your instinct with a gauge. It's scientific Sufism indeed. The coffee begins to rise. It rises fast, forced upward by the intense, even heat of the sand. The narrow neck of the brass jazve funnels the liquid. And the foam is a miracle. It is thicker, paler, and more stable than any kopuk you ever produced, even in the Topkapı Palace. It's an almost blindingly white tan, a dense, velvety layer, a centimeter thick. She has achieved what you only dreamed of. She has made the foam immortal. She pulls the jazve out of the sand before the first bubble even breaks the surface. She lets it rest for 5 seconds. She repeats the process. Into the sand, immediate rise, pull it out, let it rest. 3 times. The foam is reinforced, layer upon layer like a fortified wall. This is the Sultan's crest, the final, highest expression of the bean's oil and gas, a foam so stable it will not break when the liquid is poured beneath it. She pours, slowly, perfectly.
The foam stays put, forming a beautiful, unbroken hazelnut-colored lid over the dark coffee below. She has mastered your craft, and she did it by ignoring your wisdom and following a scientific principle. You are the only person in the room who understands what she has just accomplished. She has proven that your ancient alla turca method is not a primitive boil, but a highly sophisticated, gravity-fed, pressure-managed immersion brew capable of producing flavors that the espresso machine, with all its violent aggression, can never touch. This is the quirky tidbit of the Renaissance. The new usta will often chill their water to near freezing before starting the brew. You remember Ibrahim emphasizing cold water, but these new masters do it for a reason. They know that chilling the water maximizes the time the coffee spends on the heat before boiling, thus allowing for the maximum amount of foam creation and the fullest saturation of the grounds. They are doing what you did, but they are doing it with the knowledge of quantum physics. Joke, you realize your favorite Turkish coffee hack from the 16th century, always used the coldest water, was actually just a primitive pre-refrigeration cold brew technique. You order a cup, sade, plain. She serves it in a modern, heavy white fincan that has been pre-warmed. You pick up the cup. Your hands are surprisingly steady. You sip. The difference is staggering. It's not bitter. It's not burnt. It's rich, deep, and complex. It tastes of the high mountain where the bean grew, not the charcoal where it was roasted. It tastes of terroir. It tastes of respect. And the foam. The foam is a kiss. It's a velvet, aromatic prelude to the liquid below. It is the perfect use. It honors the jezve and the guest. You finish the cup. You do not dump the grounds. You savor the absence of the sludge, knowing that the fine toz has settled to the bottom instantly as Ibrahim commanded. The young usta watches you, anxiously. She knows you are old. She knows you are the real thing. Well, Effendi, she asks. You nod. It's the highest praise you can give. Your kopuk, it is the foam of the Valide Sultan. It is immortal. She beams, tears welling in her eyes. I studied the old texts, the 17th century texts. They described the foam, the thickness, the persistence. I realized the electric jazve was a lie. We had to go back to the sand, back to the gentle heat, back to the craft. She looks at her pristine mangal. We call it the digital sleeping tiger. Another joke, a good one, you think. This entire movement, this renaissance, is not without its critics. Historians still argue whether this high-end, extremely expensive, artisanal revival, which charges more for a single cup than Hakam made an
You walk out of the shop in Karaköy lighter than you have been in 4 centuries. The sun is setting over the Bosphorus, the golden light reflecting off the chrome of the espresso machines and the brass of the artisanal jezves alike. The war is not over. The tea drinkers still vastly outnumber the coffee drinkers. The instant toast is still the choice for the majority, and the latte is still the symbol of the new global class. But the fight is over. The bitter existential terror that plagued your craft from 1554 until the modern Renaissance is finally gone. You are at peace. The new usta in Karaköy, with her scientific fire and her perfect immortal foam, is a direct, vibrant answer to the question that had tormented you for decades. Is the art dead? No. It was just waiting for someone to treat it with the same rigorous respect that the baristas gave their Italian machines. Your jezve has been studied, validated, and placed back in the ring, not as a souvenir, but as a genuine, world-class brewing method. You observe the city in its beautiful, chaotic pluralism. This, you realize, is the final, ultimate stage of the coffee revolution. You sit in a sprawling modern AVM, a shopping mall, a temple of 21st century commerce. You are thirsty. You have three choices, all coexisting within 50 feet of each other. First, you can walk into the huge, bright chain cafe, the global brand. The air smells of sweet caramel syrup and burnt sugar. You order an iced double-shot caramel swirl something. It costs a fortune, comes in a huge plastic cup, and gives you a magnificent immediate sugar and caffeine rush. It's loud, fast, and aggressively social. This is the new Kavekane, a place for networking, showing off your laptop and consuming. The foam is milk foam, aggressively frothed by the steam wand, arranged in a perfect rosetta. It's a work of art, but it's a temporary one, designed to be photographed and forgotten. Second, you can walk to the small dark counter where an older woman sells chai. She has her huge bubbling samovar. She pours you a strong, hot, ruby-red tea in a tulip glass. It costs next to nothing. It is warm, comforting, and familiar. This is the legacy of the 19th century, the democratic, cheap, social lubricant. It slows you down, but not with the intense, focused energy of coffee. It just settles you. Third, you walk to the tiny kiosk, usually near a jewelry store. It has a tiny brass electric jazve hidden behind the curtain. The sign says Türk Kahvesi. You order it. It is made quickly with the plastic-handled plug-in terror. The foam is weak, the liquid is hot and muddy, but you buy it anyway. And as you wait, the woman behind the counter glances at your hand. You realize that even in this commercial hell, she is waiting for you to turn the cup over. The fall endures. You see the final, ultimate lesson of your long journey. The ban, the threat of coercion, is the only thing that ever truly threatened the art. Murad's terror, the initial ulema's fury, the state's attempt to control the flow of talk and being, that was the near-fatal blow. This is the great mainstream historical fact you finally understand. The genius of the 21st century Istanbul is not that the jazve won, but that nothing won. Everything coexists. The freedom of the market, the very globalism you once feared, has created a space where a multi-million-dollar espresso machine can sit next to a centuries-old brass jazve, and both are busy. The true Ottoman legacy is adaptation and tolerance, not in the political sense, but in the culinary and cultural one. The city is big enough for every single tiny individual preference. If you want bitterness, you have it. If you want sludge, you have it. If you want creamy foam, you have it. If you want a prediction, you have it. The fragmentation is not a weakness, it is the ultimate strength. It is the victory of the market, which is, ironically, the victory of the people Hakam and Shams first served in 1554. You look around and think of a light joke. All this choice, and still people manage to complain about the price. In 1554, they complained about the taste. Now they complain that their foam wasn't shaped like a swan. It's progress, of a sort. The scholarly debate, the one that has quietly hummed in your mind for 4 hours, is finally resolved. Historians still argue whether Istanbul's contemporary coffee scene represents a genuine cultural pluralism where the Turkish traditions stand equal, or a cultural fragmentation where the Alaturka is merely a specialized, high-cost niche tolerated by the global Alafranga chains. You, the usta, know the answer. The artisanal revival, the young woman in Karakköy, is a direct, vibrant answer to the question that had tormented you for decades. Is the art dead? No. It was just waiting for someone to treat it with the same rigorous respect that the baristas gave their Italian machines. Your jezve has been studied, validated, and placed back in the ring, not as a souvenir, but as a genuine, world-class brewing method. You observe the city in its beautiful, chaotic pluralism. This, you realize, is the final, ultimate stage of the coffee revolution. You sit in a sprawling modern AVM, a shopping mall, a temple of 21st century commerce. You are thirsty. You have three choices, all coexisting within 50 feet of each other. First, you can walk into the huge, bright chain cafe, the global brand. The air smells of sweet caramel syrup and burnt sugar. You order an iced double-shot caramel swirl something. It costs a fortune, comes in a huge plastic cup, and gives you a magnificent immediate sugar and caffeine rush. It's loud, fast, and aggressively social. This is the new Kavekane, a place for networking, showing off your laptop and consuming. The foam is milk foam, aggressively frosted by the steam wand, arranged in a perfect rosetta. It's a work of art, but it's a temporary one, designed to be photographed and forgotten. Second, you can walk to the small dark counter where an older woman sells chai. She has her huge bubbling samovar. She pours you a strong, hot ruby red tea in a tulip glass. It costs next to nothing. It is warm, comforting, and familiar. This is the legacy of the 19th century, the democratic, cheap, social lubricant. It slows you down, but not with the intense, focused energy of coffee. It just settles you. Third, you walk to the tiny kiosk, usually near a jewelry store. It has a tiny brass electric jezve hidden behind the curtain. The sign says Türk Kahvesi. You order it. It is made quickly with the plastic-handled plug-in terror. The foam is weak, the liquid is hot and muddy, but you buy it anyway. And as you wait, the woman behind the counter glances at your hand. You realize that even in this commercial hell, she is waiting for you to turn the cup over. The fall endures. You see the final, ultimate lesson of your long journey. The ban, the threat of coercion, is the only thing that ever truly threatened the art. Murad's terror, the initial ulema's fury, the state's attempt to control the flow of talk and bean, that was the near-fatal blow. This is the great mainstream historical fact you finally understand. The genius of the 21st century Istanbul is not that the jezve won, but that nothing won. Everything coexists. The freedom of the market, the very globalism you once feared, has created a space where a multi-million-dollar espresso machine can sit next to a centuries-old brass jezve, and both are busy. The true Ottoman legacy is adaptation and tolerance, not in the political sense, but in the culinary and cultural one. The city is big enough for every single tiny individual preference. If you want bitterness, you have it. If you want sludge, you have it. If you want creamy foam, you have it. If you want a prediction, you have it. The fragmentation is not a weakness, it is the ultimate strength.